The topic was about how the Universal Classic monsters are kind of similar to the Disney princesses. Babity Kate was talking about how the Disney Princess brand exists outside the world of the Disney Princess films. And so these aren't the same characters, they're more like characters who are inspired by the movies. And this is where we get to the monster mashes. You see, the last few Universal Classic Monster movies were these Avengers-level crossovers between 4 different monsters. Except they weren't. These didn't exist in the same universe as the previous films, and these definitely weren't the same character as in the previous films. When House of Frankenstein advertises that you'll see Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, Dracula, the Hunchback, and the Mad Doctor all together, this isn't the same Frankenstein's monster as we've seen in the previous 4 movies. The Wolfman doesn't have the same personality or even the same actor as the previous 4 movies. And this is literally a different Dracula, because all of these movies establish and then kill off a new Dracula. The Mad Doctor isn't even Frankenstein. It's not even advertising that it's Frankenstein. And then House of Dracula advertises the same thing. Frankenstein's monster, Wolfman, Dracula, Mad Doctor, and Hunchback, all new all together. And it really means it when it says all new, because this is a new version of the characters. House of Dracula and House of Frankenstein don't acknowledge the continuity of the previous films because they are not in the continuity of the previous films. They are a whole new thing with characters inspired by the previous films. Because remember, Frankenstein and Dracula came out in 1931. House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula came out in 44 and 45. That is a 13-14 year gap. Most of the audiences for these movies either were kids when the originals came out, or had not been born when the originals came out. Either way, they didn't see them as characters who had a rich and long-standing tradition of backstory and lore. They saw them as icons and symbols. The versions of these characters in House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula don't act like their previous counterparts. They act like their Scooby-Doo counterparts, or like a kid dressed in a Halloween costume of these characters. But they're made by the same studio, and in some cases the same writers, as the movies that made these versions of the characters iconic. Just like the capital Disney princesses TM don't act as literally the same character from their movie, they act as icons and symbols meant for the people who were children when these movies came out, or weren't born when these movies came out, who grew up on these movies, and who have childhood nostalgia for these movies, and who understand these characters both through cultural osmosis and through nostalgia goggles. That's why House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula aren't called crossovers, they're called monster mashes. Follow for more film talk.